Hello everyone and welcome to Fiction Friday. Today we have episode 9 of The Lightning. I hope you enjoy it. Grrr. Krosh snarled behind his mask when he regained his feet. The first humans they encountered were weak. Even the first batch of warlords had been nothing special. But this one was different. His power equaled, perhaps even surpassed, a member of the Queen's Chosen. A quick glance revealed that his comrades had finished off the remaining humans. After them, Krosh snapped. The 4 Queen's champions became like the Arctic wind as they pursued the fleeing human. Their prey had no hope of escaping. The human king's protector wasn't fast enough. "Must I handle this human for you, Krosh?" Sakaar asked. Krosh would have gladly crushed Sakaar's arrogant skull, but he feared he might need all the help he could get before this mission was complete. And they would complete it. The Queen's champions had never failed their mistress. The first time wouldn't be under Krosh's command. Their prey turned down a flight of steps from the sound of it. Why would he do that? Krosh had assumed the human wished to flee. Perhaps he simply wanted to die on ground of his own choosing. Krosh would be happy to oblige him. He rounded a corner and slammed face first into an invisible barrier. His mask pressed into the blue skin of his face. Beyond the barrier floated another human. This one wore red robes and carried no weapon. Sakaar skidded to a stop beside the others. A sorcerer, what a nuisance. Krosh's second slammed a massive fist into the invisible wall, drawing a dull thunk and nothing more. They would have to use the Queen's power. Krosh focused and an icy blue glow encased his fist. Together. The rest of his team conjured identical glows, and as one they slammed their empowered fists into the wall. It shattered under the combined strike. The moment it did, Krosh sped up and went for the sorcerer. His sword struck a solid blow, but the edge didn't bite. Krosh roared and rained blows down on the enemy in red. Whatever protection held his sword back gave way, and the keen edge of his sword hacked into soft flesh. The sorcerer fell in 2 pieces. Come on. Krosh smelled the prey. It wouldn't be long now. The hunters reached a broken door with a set of steps leading down. The human had come this way, but he smelled someone else at the bottom. Krosh paused and took a deep breath. It was the stink of another sorcerer. "If you so fear the humans, Krosh, I will lead the way." Sakaar brushed past him and raced down the steps. Stupid whelp. Krosh hadn't become leader of the Queen's Chosen because he ran blindly into the enemy's path. An energy blast shook the floor and sent Sakaar reeling back into the stairs. Only the Queen's gift kept the fool from dying instantly. "Save him," Krosh said. It went against his better judgment, but he'd never abandon a squad member, and he wasn't about to start now, even if it was the stupidest berserker in the army. Catan and Kolto rushed down the stairs, the energy gifted them by the Ice Queen glowing around their bodies. Krosh followed at a slower pace. Often a swift attack might fail, but at the same time create an opening for a follow-up. The cold, musty tunnel led under the castle and out into the city. Dornkirk and Samhail kept the king between them as they hurried along by the glow of a conjured light. King Adam hacked and spat to one side. The damp wasn't doing his lungs any good. Dornkirk needed to get him somewhere safe and warm before the infection flared up too badly. At the front of the line, Samhail flinched. Dornkirk's enhanced senses revealed no threat, but sorcerers often knew things others didn't. "What is it?" Dornkirk asked. "My second legionnaire just died." "What sort of berserkers can kill 2 sorcerers?" "That's an excellent question. I've fought the brutes twice in past incursions, but this bunch is far stronger than any I've ever encountered. For that matter, how did they sneak into the city in the first place?" The king fell to his knees as great, racking coughs shook him. Blood-flecked spittle flew from his mouth. Samhail sent a beam of energy into the king, and his breathing eased in moments. The glow surrounded him and lifted him off the ground. "We're almost into the end of the tunnel, Majesty," Samhail said. "We'll have you to safety in no time." "I can walk," King Adam gasped between wheezes. "Please, Majesty, try and rest. The infection has badly weakened your body." Samhail tried to sound encouraging but failed miserably. Far down the tunnel, the rapid thud of running boots reached Dornkirk. They're coming. Samhail flew down the tunnel with the king beside him. Dornkirk easily kept pace. I have 10 Crimson Legionnaires patrolling the skies above the city. Once we're clear of the tunnel, we'll have all the backup we need. Collapse it, Dornkirk said. That will buy us a few seconds. Golden blast streaked past Dornkirk's head and slammed into the ceiling behind him. Broken rock tumbled from the ceiling. The rubble filled the passage from floor to ceiling. Dornkirk doubted the crude barrier would hold those berserkers long, but every second helped. The end of the tunnel appeared moments later. The three of them emerged from the basement of a run-down building half a mile from the castle and only 100 yards from the eastern gate. They scrambled up a set of rough steps and out into the snow-dusted streets. There were no people out on this frigid night, at least. Samhail sent a golden beam into the air where it exploded in a crimson blossom. 6 figures in red robes came flying toward the light. Samhail frowned, no doubt wondering where his other 4 men were, same as Dornkirk. We'll have them now. The Archmage again failed miserably to sound confident. Forget that. Vibrations ran through Dornkirk's boots and he drew the demon sword. Get the king to safety. There. The street exploded with 4 geysers of dirt and stone. When the debris fell away, the 4 berserkers remained in the air, each of them surrounded by an icy blue glow. Ogre sorcerers. Dornkirk had never heard of such a thing. Stop them, the Archmage shouted. The 6 sorcerers dove toward the ogres, golden blasts of soul force streaking from their hands. The enemy countered with blasts of their own and the battle was joined. Will you be okay? Samhail asked. Ha, as if he needed a sorcerer worrying about him. I'll be fine, just go. Take His Majesty to the safe house. Samhail nodded and soared toward the wall with the force field protecting the king in front of him. Good. The Archmage would escort the king to safety. Once the protections were activated, nothing short of an angry dragon would be able to breach the walls of that fortress. King and Archmage were halfway to the wall when one of the berserkers broke away from the others and streaked toward them. A pale blue beam of energy struck Samhail. The Archmage went spinning out of control. The protective barrier around King Adam vanished, sending him plummeting toward the ground. Dornkirk drew deep from his core and accelerated to warlord speed. In the blink of an eye, he covered the distance separating him from the king. He leapt and snagged the flailing king out of the air. They landed hard, but Dornkirk's enhanced body absorbed the impact with no damage. Are you well, Majesty? As well as can be expected under the circumstances. What happens now? Dornkirk watched the battle in the sky and wished he had a good answer for his king. Let's find somewhere to hole up. Samhail and his sorcerers can handle the ogres. You don't sound very optimistic. The king started back toward the building they'd exited. It didn't strike Dornkirk as a very good place to hide, but at the moment he couldn't come up with anything better. That he should be reduced to fleeing a quartet of grubby ogres turned Dornkirk's stomach. He'd killed scores of the brutes over the years, but none like this group. If he hadn't seen them with his own eyes, he would have doubted such creatures existed. As they made their way at the king's labored pace, he kept glancing skyward. On his third look, a berserker rammed his fist through the chest of one of the sorcerers. Dornkirk would have had trouble doing that with the demon sword, much less his bare hand. His grip tightened on Lizinoir. Whatever it took to keep the king safe, he'd do it. The body of a second sorcerer thudded to earth a little ways away. Dornkirk's jaw clenched. Whatever it took. Lon hadn't spent much time in the capital, despite the fact that his grandfather's dojo was there. He certainly hadn't expected his first visit in a year to be instigated by the near murder of the Crown Prince. Below the small group, the Great Green whizzed by. Lydia had decided to take a straight line back to the castle, and that path sent them flying over the edge of the giant forest. He darted a glance at the 3 figures suspended in a bubble under the Crimson Legionnaire commander. The prince wasn't what Lon expected. He seemed far younger than his 17 years. Lydia stopped, and a moment later Lon sensed it. Sorcerers fought a battle up ahead, and the only place with sorcerers around here was the capital. Well, now I knew where the last of the ogres went. What's the holdup? Prince Andrew asked, his voice muffled by the bubble. The bubble transformed into a platform, and Lydia landed on it. There's a battle going on in the city. We can't bring you there. The prince squinted toward the capital, but Lon doubted even a warlord could see anything from this distance. If there's a battle, I should go to my father. Lydia shook her head. No, Highness. Our orders are to keep you safe, and flying into a battle is the exact opposite of safe. Prince Andrew glared at Lydia, drawing a wince from Lon. Are you really going to ignore my order? If I obey your order, I'll be disobeying your father's. I would very much appreciate it if you didn't put me in the position of choosing between my king and my prince. Lon almost heard the prince's teeth grinding. Frederick put a hand on Prince Andrew's shoulder. Unlike the prince, Frederick seemed older than his years. You know your duty, Frederick said. If your father's in danger, you must be kept safe. The line of succession must be maintained. Should, heaven forbid, something happen to both of you, there will be chaos as the dukes fight over the throne. Lon's eyes widened as he understood. He flew closer. That was the Ice Queen's plan all along. By killing the general of the Northern Army and creating chaos in the capital, she'd make an opening for her army to march through virtually unopposed. We'll go to the royal safe house, Lydia said. It's secure and defensible. I'm certain the Archmage will do everything he can to get the king there as well. Fine, I'll go, Prince Andrew said. Frederick gave the prince's shoulder a final squeeze. Thank you. Don't worry, I'll check on our fathers. You're leaving me alone? The panic in the prince's voice would have been comical under different circumstances. Hardly. You have Helena and the sorcerers to protect you. There's nothing I can do that they can't, and I might be of some use in the capital. I don't dare spare anyone to fly you there, Lydia said. I'll do it, Lon offered. I owe these monsters for killing my commander. Lydia nodded. Good luck. The stunningly attractive female warlord, Helena, grabbed Frederick by the tunic and yanked him close. Don't you dare get yourself killed. Frederick's stoic expression finally cracked. He smiled and stroked her cheek. I'd never do anything so foolish now that I have so much to live for. Frederick broke away and hopped off the platform. Lon caught him in a soul force bubble of his own, and they flew toward the capital, while the others turned south. Lon didn't actually know where the safe house was. He suspected not many people did. Can you give me an idea what we're flying into? Frederick asked. Multiple sorcerers fighting. Beyond that, I can't tell. The city appeared seconds later. Lines of energy streaked through the air, some gold and some blue. He'd expected gold, but blue? That didn't make any sense. Lon slowed his approach. They didn't need one of their allies blasting them by mistake. When they reached the outer wall, he stopped and hovered. The battle consisted of two distinct groups. A smaller group near the edge of the city fired blasts at the ground, while a larger group fought ogres flying through the air. I didn't think ogres had sorcerers, Frederick said. Me neither, but I'd begun to suspect the possibility when this lot flew over the mountains. It seemed like too minor a task for one of the dragons to do it. Lower me to the street, Frederick said. Those berserkers are too fast for sorcerers to hit. I'll be of more use cleaning them up. He said it like killing berserkers was simple for him. Maybe it was. Lon didn't have much experience fighting with warlords. Though judging by how the ones assigned to the Northern Army fared, maybe Frederick shouldn't be so confident. Lon set the bubble on the street and then dissolved it. Good? Frederick had already disappeared. Luck. He turned toward the battle in the sky. Every soul force he sensed overmatched his by a lot. Maybe he should simply stay out of the way. The thought had barely crossed his mind when one of the Crimson Legionnaires went down. Damn it, maybe he wasn't the strongest, but he had to try and help. Lon watched the swirling battle above the capital. The three ogres powered through the sky surrounded by pale blue auras, while the golden forms of the sorcerers pursued them. They traded explosive spheres and focused lances of energy. Neither side seemed able to gain an advantage. He shivered as he saw, and more importantly felt, the power of both sides' attacks. How could he make a difference and not get in the way, or worse, get himself killed? Just rushing in wouldn't accomplish anything. A few seconds later, the ogre's pattern became clear to him. They flew in wide, swooping figure eights. The Crimson Legionnaires were so focused on their individual targets they must not have noticed. Lon drew from his core. If he disrupted the pattern, it might create an opening. He conjured a golden wall directly in front of a female ogre. The monster swerved to avoid it. In its moment of distraction, two sorcerers blasted it from opposite directions. It resisted for a second, then the blue aura shattered and it exploded in a shower of gore. Lon thrust a fist into the sky. So far, so good. Now that he knew how to make a difference, his confidence swelled. At least it did for the half a second it took to notice one of the ogres flying straight at him. Thanks for listening to episode 9 of The Lightning. I hope you join me next week for episode 10. You can check out the complete Soul Force saga on my website, jamesewisher.com. Link in the description. Until next time, goodbye.